He answered, I heard you in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked. So I hid. Genesis 3:10. Did you know that every human being arrives in this world with only two built in fears? The fear of falling and the fear of loud noises. Babies fling out their arms when they feel a sudden drop, and loud noises? They trigger acoustic startle reflex that causes the baby to duck its body. All other fears learned fear of failure, people, spiders, situations, death, etc., etc. All these phobias, none of those came pre installed. Adam and his wife knew no fear. That is our original design. They walked with God in perfect fellowship, no anxiety, no insecurity, no hiding. But then along came the serpent and the fruit. We used to joke, a minute on your lips, a lifetime on your hips, whenever we reached for a dessert. For Adam and Eve, this was a minute in their bowl and lifetime in their soul. The fruit touched their lips, and suddenly their eyes were opened, and not in the way they expected. The glory that covered them lifted, and for the first time, they saw themselves differently. Interestingly, the Hebrew word for naked in Genesis 3 is very different from the word used in Genesis 2:25. Earlier, their nakedness spoke of openness and vulnerability without shame. But here in Genesis 3, it is yerom, meaning stripped bare, naked. They weren't just missing clothes. They were stripped of innocence, joy, and glory in a bite. They sewed fig leaves to make covers for themselves. So before there were books, podcasts, seminars, life coaches, there were two frightened people trying to fix themselves with garden supplies. Humanity's first DIY gone wrong. The emotions came. First came shame, and then right behind it, uninvited, rolling in like a bad house guest, came fear. They hid. They hid from God in God's garden. Ridiculous, right? Instantly, they saw their loving Creator through the lens of their failure. God had not changed, but their perception of Him had. Now, fear is dangerous because it rarely stays an emotion. It evolves to be the master. It makes our decisions, it overrides wisdom, distorts perspective, and destroys us and those around us. How do we know when emotion has become a spirit? Fear as an emotion alerts us to danger and then fades when the danger passes. Fear as an emotion is healthy. But fear as a spirit torments. It fuels persistent worry, irrational panic, and endless what-if scenarios. It magnifies the imagined failures. So, how do we break free? The spirit of fear bows to the Holy Spirit. When we truly trust our Father, the perfect love that this brings to our heart casts out fear. The Bible reminds us that God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and sound mind. Adam feared and hid from God. We must run to God and show fear the door. Today is a new day. Choose to live without the spirit of fear.